On today's episode of Pure Screen Gems Podcast, I give you my thoughts and reviews on the penultimate episode of X-Men 97's second part of a three-part story, Tolerance is Extinction, Part 2, starting right now. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Pure Screen Gems Podcast and the penultimate episode of X-Men 97, Episode 9, Tolerance's Extinction, Part 2, building up to the finale. Now, before we start to dive right into it, let me just remind you that this is a spoiler-filled episode, so if you haven't seen it, go ahead and go see it on Disney Plus, and then come back in and listen to this episode, because believe me, this is filled with a lot of emotions, a lot of surprises, and we sometimes don't know where this is going. And towards the end of this episode, we really do not expect any of this to happen. And I'm not going to tell you right now, of course. I want to keep it a surprise for now. But for now, one thing I will say concerning the opening credits, we finally got to see Storm back in the credits. She's back on the team, and she's back with her classic costume. Oh my god, does she ever look good in it. Now, this is one of those times where I saw the clip that they released beforehand, like the day before. And I was so happy when I saw that they're going to go back to the classic costumes from the 70s, from the 80s. When I first saw that, I thought to myself, I hope they don't show that clip towards the end of the episode where they had to build up to that moment, and finally we saw the costume. So I'm glad that was not the case, that it was like towards the mid episode. I'm also glad that they started off the episode with it was either like the morning after what Magneto did, or either that, or is it me, or did we see like scenes that we couldn't have seen in the previous episode that happened during the whole incident when Storm and Forge came into the whole scene? And how did Jubilee and Sunspot get free? I have no idea how that happened. And how did they come to reunite with Storm? How did that happen? I mean, that seems to be like a plot hole or something. Am I missing something? And I really like the classic Professor X in his old wheelchair with the blanket, like as if he was cold. And the whole discussion between Professor X and Scott and Jean, and on why he wanted him to, or why he wanted Scott and Jean to have a life. But no matter what would have happened, Scott and Jean would have stayed anyways, because that's where they belonged. Because no matter what, one thing that never would have changed is that they are mutants, and it's in them to help. And as usual, that scene between Rogue and Nightcrawler, oh my god. You can see the tenderness between those two. I mean, as brother and sister, they've chosen well as family. It shows how much they care for each other. Although I'm sure Nightcrawler was quite surprised at the decision that Rogue makes in taking Magneto's side. Personally, I think it's the right choice, or I should say, is the most consistent choice that she makes, knowing what happened to her, knowing what's happened to her in Genosha and what happened to Gambit, all the experiences that she had. I don't blame her for switching sides. But talk about family. When you see Jean's reaction when she sees a Storm come right through the door, it's like, oh my god, Aurora, you're back. Laughs. That is such a moment of joy, you know? And you know what I noticed? No one ever comments on her new costume. I mean, really? No one really noticed her new costume. And of course, the first person to greet Forge is Beast. These two are so simpatico that, of course, it's normal for those two to be greeted together, you know. I gotta say, the animation in this episode is really top notch, you know. I mean, even if the classic costumes are in this, it really doesn't matter, you know. I mean, the animators are really going all out to show us that this is really based in the 90s. I mean, when you see Polaroids, pictures in Polaroids, that's really a retro touch right there. I mean, I haven't seen Polaroids in decades. I mean, that's some imagination right there. I'm really glad they split the team in two, the gold team and the blue team, and they really took the time to put the real, or I should say the right leaders according to the comic books. And we find out that Professor X has a little history with Bastion when he was a child. He thought that he was a mutant because of Cerebro. Another sweet moment was between Rogue and Professor X talking about Gambit. And, you know, he was so sorry that he wasn't there for them. But, you know, it wasn't his fault. And that's where I realized, oh my gosh, she has a new costume. But I remember that, yeah, that was the first time, or her very first costume from the comics. And then entered Magneto. But the lightning was like kind of like the Northern Lights. And that was really cool. At least that they didn't have to search for Magneto because, like Wolverine said, looks like the search came to us. I loved the way Magnus described Lilandra, the Shi'ar Bird Queen. Oh my god. This episode just came full circle between the classic series and this series, where it's the classic conflict between Professor X and Magneto, him hovering in the sky, and Professor X just there in his wheelchair trying to reason with him and just not going anywhere with him. And it's the same thing. The professor's dream is dead and my vision is true. My dream is the right thing. And it harks back to Magneto is right. But is he really? And this is where Magneto gives a choice to the X-Men. Join me or don't. And this is where Rogue chooses to stand with Magneto because she's just sick of all the killing, of all the destruction, and probably does not believe in the professor's dream. And as for Sunspot, well, it's more personal because of how he was treated by his mother and how his mother abandoned him because he's a mutant. Next, we see Scott and Cable having kind of like a heart to heart. Scott saying that he knows they're not the same people, but they're the two strongest women he's ever known. But when he says, oh, by the way, here you are. What am I going to the circus? What do you expect? Black leather? That's something that really goes back like 24 years to the very first X-Men movie that, in my opinion, started the whole comic book movie genre. Not Iron Man, but X-Men. That is the one movie that really told me, oh, okay, you can do movies like this. Wow. But that moment where everybody's shooting up in their classic costumes, oh, that was bringing me such a big smile to my face. I mean, that's where I was thinking about when I started reading comic books, and when I was reading particularly X-Men comic books back in the day, especially the Chris Claremont era. I really didn't think we'd see more classic Sentinels again. Honestly, I really didn't think that, but I was really happy. That was a good surprise. Oh yeah. But the best lines that came out of that battle was between Marvel Girl and Storm. I mean, the switch between the words. Oh my God, that was. I mean, really, the writers on this episode. Well, I mean, every episode are amazing. Really, I mean, kudos. Really, amazing. All has changed. It's all the same. Let us do what we do. Believe not in a dream or our gifts, but in each other. Make them mind your weather, sister. And then Storm replies, and then weather your mind. Oh my God, what a piece of dialogue that is. In my opinion, that is up there with Nightcrawler's eulogy. I mean, that was so good, I had to write that down. Word for word, because I didn't want to paraphrase or anything like that. And even though he was not the real thing, it was so cool to see Morph turn into the Hulk. I mean, Morph smash. I mean, oh my God, that was so cool. And combined with Jean's powers, it was even better. Oh my God. I mean, really, that was such a cool moment. Oh, come on, guys. You can't tell me that that was not a cool moment. And when Morph as Hulk punched the Sentinel's head off, and the Sentinel's head went right through that diner's sign, if you look carefully, the sign's name, or the diner's name, is the Mayo's Diner. So that's a nod to Bo DeMayo, who was the showrunner, I believe, who was the man behind this show, who, I'm not going to get into it, but who was let go, I believe, a week before the show launched on Disney Plus. But this guy is still promoting it behind the scenes. Like 2 weeks ago, he said, you gotta watch this episode of the original series before episode 8. and you have to watch this episode before episode 9. So he's still around unofficially, but anyways, I digress. But that was a good touch, really, So, but the whole battle scene with the gold team and the Sentinels and Marvel Girl and Mr. Sinister, oh my god. Was he taunting her? My god. Poor Marvel Girl. Always trying to get her, always trying to get into her head, but she's not having it. Oh, no way, no way. She's really going at it, and she's enjoying every moment of this battle between her and Sinister. I'm telling you, Wolverine is still a good side character in this whole series. And he still has these good lines like, oh, good, we're skipping the blabber. But he seems to be underutilized, but it doesn't look like he's being underutilized. This is very much a team effort. Everybody has their own moments because this is a big cast. When you think about it, especially this episode, this is a large cast and everybody has their own time to shine. And when I see Cyclops in his classic costume, I haven't seen him since like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. That's going back like 1985, 1984. Oh, even before that. Oh my god. But whatever happened to Forge? Is he going down? Did he go down in that plane? I mean, after he said Yahoo? I don't know. I hope not. I don't think so, but, you never know. But who would have thought that you would have seen, like, Cable against Marvel Girl? But Cable, of course, being, like, controlled by Sinister. But when Jean contacts Scott by telepathy, you could see the fear in his face. The fact that he knew that it was the woman that he loved against his son. He knew that he had to do something. Especially when she says, Scott, I love you. Right there I knew, oh my god, something's gonna happen. And from there on, oh my god, crap just hit the fan. And you just didn't know what the heck was going on. Professor X going for Magneto's mind after Wolverine took the helmet off, and then Scott stopping him because Gold Team still needed some time. Then Magneto putting the helmet on Charles so he could stop him from reading Magneto's mind. And then suddenly, adamantium claws penetrates Magneto's chest. That's where it's, oh my god, no, come on. And this is where a great line comes out of Wolverine. Been in a lot of years, bub. The brave always die first. But then Magneto replies, Logan, finally, this feud is over. And then I was like, what does he mean? And then the last shot, we see the adamantium spilling out of his body. Oh my god, what a cliffhanger. What's gonna happen next week? What's gonna happen to Logan? I really wasn't expecting this at all. Believe me. I mean, to me, Wolverine was indestructible. So what did you think of this episode? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe to our channel at Pure Screen Gems Podcast. So far, it's been quite a ride, and I can't believe that next week is going to be the finale and the end of Season 1. So until next time, stay excellent, and I'll be seeing you. Bye-bye.